Hey guys, how's it going? NIO just published their Q2 earnings, and well, as you can see in the background, and as you may hear, I'm actually in a restaurant here in Italy, and so apologies. I have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe I lose connectivity. Maybe but I talk flexible. Some of those restarts I have read it NIO. What this is, I'm really prepared this time. You can hear me, and I still want to these Q2 earnings by NIO. And let me first take a look quickly at what NIO is doing after hours. Okay, plus 0.5%. All right, so not a big deal so far. I posted a video earlier this morning talking about how NIO may see a big sell-off similar to Fastly and so on. Seems that that didn't happen so far. What are you having for dinner? Well, I had dinner a long time ago. I had great Italian food, I can tell you this. Your internet sucks, laggy shit. Okay, I'm sorry, still trying to pull this off. Maybe I make my internet a little bit, sorry, take off my video here. Okay, let's talk through those numbers here. I'm watching these for the first time, so please take this lightly in terms of my interpretation. Vehicle sales are 1.2 billion. All right. Earlier this day, I published my assumption that it would be roughly 1.3 billion. I posted this only in the Patreon network, but that's a little bit below my personal expectations, to be honest. But let's see what has been the guidance. I need to check that one quickly. Sorry, I'm just opening that one in a separate window. I believe the guidance has been roughly in line with this, right? Maybe you guys can help me out here on this. Now, of course, I'm not logged in Patreon here, so let's check the community feature here. Sorry, guys, this is still kind of improvised here and on the go, but anyways, let's go into that. So the NIO guidance has been between 21,000 and 22,000 vehicles. Obviously, we know the deliveries and the total revenues between 1.2 billion and 1.29 billion. So it's actually a little bit on the lower side here in terms of the revenues. And even my revenue expectations have been higher. So I haven't checked it yet, but obviously the average sales price has been much lower than anticipated, but that is can be kind of explained through the share of vehicles sold. So not as many ES8 have been sold, and that possibly explains why we see a lower average sales price and therefore lower revenues. The vehicle margin, to be honest, is a little bit disappointing in my view. It's lower than actually in the first quarter, but I mentioned also in my Patreon post that I think that the first quarter was quite exceptional. Still, I personally was planning or anticipating a 5% increase in the vehicle margin compared to the first quarter, but it's obviously a little bit lower here. And I see that NIO is doing a little bit of a trick here in terms of how they are announcing those earnings here, because they're saying it was 20.3% compared to 9% in the second quarter of 2020. So that's a first that they announced how it's been year over year. So there's obviously this is helping the numbers here, right? In a way, because we can see it's down compared to the first quarter, but obviously a lot up since the second quarter. The gross profit is 243.8 million in the second quarter, an increase 402.7% from the second quarter of 2020, and an increase of 1.2% from the first quarter. Okay, so it means on the operational side, NIO has gotten better despite a lower vehicle margin. And I think that is good news. So the vehicle margin is a little bit of a disappointment, to be honest here. Also from my side, I was expecting it to grow because obviously the vehicle sales have been expanding, even though slightly, but maybe, and that's just my interpretation here, maybe that's because of some supply side issues, the chip issue, and also the how you say the supply chain in general, right? So, but still, they managed to pump the gross profit here. Although I'm seeing here that the gross margin is 18.6% compared, once again, they're doing a trick here with what this was in 2020, 8.4%. So huge growth, but a down, well, it's a little bit down from the first quarter, which was 19.5%. Once again, it was an exceptional first quarter. And once again, my expectations, to be honest, have been higher here also on a gross margin. So I was expecting that they could actually increase the gross margin, but that didn't happen either. Let's go on. So the loss from operations was 118.2 million in the second quarter. So that's a decrease from the second quarter of 2020 and an increase of 158%. So a huge increase from the first quarter in 2021. But on the positive side, the net loss has been 19.9 million in the second quarter, and that's representing a 50.1 decrease from the second quarter 2021 and an increase from 30% from the first quarter in 2021. So actually, that is pretty much in line with what I was expecting. I was actually expecting that they increased the net loss slightly, and that in fact now happened. But overall, I think the notion here is that NIO has gotten less efficient here. That needs to be said on the operations side as well as on the net loss side. On the net loss side, I was expecting it in that kind of in this kind of a size, but for the loss operations, I'm not sure if I expected that much. Let me check my Excel sheet for a second. I'm gonna share it with you guys here. All right, let's dive into Excel. Okay, so you can see my personal expectations on the balance sheet. So I expected 1.3 billion in revenues here. And let's go down to the cost side. Well, as I mentioned before, I expected an increase on the gross margin, a slight increase by 5% to 21%. And then also on the, that's on the gross margin. And on the sales margin, I expected also an increase to 22%. That didn't happen, obviously. It's quite lower here. And on the gross profit, I expected 265 million. Let's go back to what we got here, 243 million. That's not too bad. It's kind of in line with my expectations here. But the loss from operations have been 180 million. Let's go into my expectations. It was minus 83 million. So it's quite a bit higher here. And I already had quite conservative expectations, to be honest. So I would say, in general, just taking a first look at this, that these numbers are not a positive surprise, to be honest. So let's be frank about it. This is not super positive. These are not great new numbers in terms of that they have managed to increase the gross margins, managed to increase the vehicle margins. They have also not managed to become more efficient on the operational side. That has to be said. But coming back to how the share price reacts to it, and that was my big topic of the video earlier today, it's plus 1.2%. And that's really rare to see for NIO these days. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what could cause this. As I mentioned before, I haven't seen all of these numbers before. So let's see, maybe the guidance is really good. Let me remove that screen again and dive again into the NIO earnings here. Make that one bigger. Let's see what else is in the report. So frankly, to sum this up first, it's not great, it's not bad, it's pretty much in line on all of the metrics. I would say rather on the low side than on the high side. But let's maybe look into the CEO and CFO comments. Okay, we've achieved a record high quarterly delivery. Yeah, we all know that. While the global supply chain still faces uncertainties, we have been working closely with our partners to improve the overall supply chain production capacity. All right. Encouraged by the growth user demand, we remain committed to further expand our power network. Okay, so here's a focus on increasing or an increased focus on the infrastructure side, increasing our service and sales coverages, which makes a lot of sense. I mentioned earlier in my Patreon post that I really like to see NIO investing more at this kind of stage, and more importantly, accelerating our product and technology development. All right, so increased emphasis here on R&D and development, which I think at the current stage where NIO is at is actually good. I mentioned before that I don't really like to see NIO pleasing Wall Street right now in terms of the EPS, so the earnings per share, and also the Wall Street estimations. I'd rather see them investing, and that's kind of the CEO and CFO comments as I can see them so far. We aim to deliver 3 new products based on the NIO platform technology 2.0 in 2021. All right, that's kind of news to me, right? 3 new products. We knew about the ET7, which might be one product, and the ET5, which was rumored. And then I also mentioned before that I think possibly they introduce another product on NIO Day, a flagship premium smart electric sedan. Okay, so that's the ET7 possibly. The EV adoption begins to reach a tipping point worldwide. We believe it's imperative to speed up the launch of new products to provide more premium smart EV offerings with superior holistic services to the growing user base in a global market. All right. So they don't go more into details about the 3 new products, but that's exciting. So they kind of start opening up here and kind of giving us a little bit of a preview of what's going to happen end of the year, I guess, with NIO Day. Driven by another record high quarterly deliveries in the second quarter in 2021, we have achieved a solid financial performance with vehicle margin and gross margin reaching 20.3% and 18.6% respectively. Okay, they are saying they're going to continue making decisive investments in product and core technology. and in the sales and service network expansion while improving overall organizational efficiency and capabilities. All right. So basically, I would say that sends a clear message, which is they are looking right now into investing more into their company in order to become more competitive, have better products in the future. That's what they're announcing here. 3 new products that we're gonna see possibly announced on NIO Day. Not more details on that, but it's a nice teaser, to be honest. And well, what I have stated before in my Patreon post today is actually that this is pretty much what I would like to see from NIO in terms of right now. They're in a stage which they should, invest much more rather than look to please Wall Street in terms of profitability and such. So pretty much what they announced today, but still kind of a mystery to me why NIO is not selling off. So let's go deeper here. What is it? Total revenues. Oh, wait, why is total revenues here 1.3? Okay, 1.3 billion total revenues. Oh, I get it. I was just referring to the vehicle revenues here before. Sorry, guys, that's my bad, but this is what happens during a live stream. So the vehicle sales have been 1.2 billion, which coming back, let me jump once again into my Excel sheet here. That's actually beyond my estimations. So let me share that one again. Oh, man. Yes, of course. This is much higher than my estimations. I was estimating 1.193 million US dollars. And so NIO crushed that, okay? And so that means the average sales price has actually been higher than what I have been anticipating. Man, this is really what happens if you look at the numbers for the first time. So anyways, let me jump back into the report because now it's getting really exciting. Now I see why it's not selling off. Okay. All right, let me share this one again with you guys. So vehicle sales crushed it. This is awesome. This is higher than I expected. Okay, let me jump into other sales. Other sales, I had pretty high estimations for other sales. In the second half, there have been 83.1 million. So that's 130% up from the second quarter, but a decrease of 7% from the first quarter. Let me see if they booked something called the credits. I can't find it. Maybe you help me out in the comments, but I can't find that I booked any vehicle credits. So in my personal estimation, I was aiming for more than 120 million, I think, in other revenues. But let me check my detailed KPIs. On the other sales side, I was actually anticipating 94 million US dollars, and NIO is slightly below that. So not really the sales bump on the e-commerce and NIO Live side that I want to see yet. That's kind of disappointing, to be honest. So, okay, here in summary, I can say that NIO really crushed it on a vehicle side in terms of, yeah, it's higher than my estimations, higher average sales price than that I would have thought, given the vehicle shares. But guys, I'm really bullish on the e-commerce new retail side of the new business, and it seems that one is kind of a little bit lower than what I personally have estimated. Plus, I also thought that NIO is going to book another regulatory credits around 20 million US dollars. I thought they would book again, like they've done a couple of quarters ago. But there's no news I can see here in the report. Maybe you can correct me if you've seen it, to the regulatory credits. So that also means they haven't been booked, which is on the other side is good again, because that means, with each of the cars that NIO is selling, they earn those credits and they can kind of sell them to companies like VW. And whenever they need to book those kind of revenues, they can book them. And these revenues, they have no cost of revenues. They don't. It's just free money, basically, right? So I expected that this quarter they would use it to bump the gross margin with that and book those revenues, but it seems like they haven't done that. And so, yeah, let's continue with that. Let's continue. Why is NIO up right now? Which is a surprise to me, to be honest. Today I put out this video warning everyone that this could see a similar sell-off like some of the US stocks, but NIO is still trading up. That's something rare to see after earnings. So the net loss is around 90 million, which is a little bit higher than I personally anticipated. Oh, and that's an EPS of 0.07, and I think that's actually slightly better than the Wall Street estimates, which could be the reason why NIO is not selling off currently. But another one could be the business outlook, which is, let's see, NIO is expecting to deliver between 23,000 and 25,000 vehicles. Okay, I think this is one of the major reasons why NIO is doing well, because this is actually quite a bullish guidance in my views. If I go back to what I have mentioned in the Patreon network today, let me share you my estimations. For the outlook. Okay, I said they possibly will put out a guidance between 23,000 and 24,000 deliveries, because basically I'm saying that Q3 will be still kind of flat. I expect more of the sales to happen in Q4. My estimations right now are roughly 95,000 vehicles to be sold by NIO in 2021, and most of it going to happen in Q4. But now this guidance is actually a little bit, slightly 1,000 vehicles more bullish than what I thought NIO will put out there. And possibly most of the investors thought the same. And so this guidance, I think, is pretty good. And obviously the revenue guidance is going along with that. So between 1.3 billion and 1.5 billion. So yeah, that's giving confidence to investors. And I mentioned before that that this Q2 earnings is pretty much just about confidence. I mentioned that this time the numbers are not so important, because everyone knows automotive is quite cyclical between Q1 and Q2. It's not that important. You just need to get through the year, and especially with the chip shortage right now. And now Q3, it's going to be a little bit more flat, but Q4 is going to rock. But anyways, putting out such kind of in my views, a bullish guideline tells us quite a bit that they have accumulated quite a bit of orders here, and also that they're possibly thinking that they can manage through the chip shortage already in Q3. So that is possibly, in my point of view, the 2 points here why NIO is not selling off right now is, first of all, that they have not missed on the EPS, but you need to look in the analysts' expectations. They're quite different from whatever website you look at. I'm currently using TradeViews because it's the easiest one to look into. And I think there it was 0.09 US dollars per share of EPS, and now it's coming in better than that. So that's going to be a beat here. And that's one reason. And the second reason, I think, is actually that this guidance here is positive. And so that's exactly what is needed. And I'm going so far to say that this will put so much investor confidence into NIO that from here we should possibly see NIO shares only rising towards the end of the year. I'm quite confident now of these kind of numbers. And going back to it, I think they're not great numbers, right? They're not a surprise. And I mentioned that before, that I'm not expecting a surprise. But even though I was conservative, I have to say that these numbers are even lower than my conservative expectations. So actually not good numbers, but still, I would say the numbers here are putting, and that's the most important thing here, investor confidence in NIO. And so I would expect that based on this earnings, we still need to look at the Q2 earnings call, what they're going to announce there. But so far, my expectation would be that this puts so much confidence in the NIO stock that, well, on a short term, maybe happening still a little bit of sell-off, but I would say from now we should see a rising stock price, to be honest. Right, let's take some of the comments here because I didn't have the time to look at this. What do you guys want me to comment on? Please shout it out loud. All right, so here, expectations for a profitable quarter, next quarter. Well, I put out a video quite a time ago, which basically said that I think NIO will maybe show a profitable quarter by Q4. And once again, I mentioned that I think NIO this quarter should actually start investing in R&D and in operations and so on, and they did. Frankly, they did it more than I would be comfortable with or than I expected. So yes, it's not great that they are operationally, let's say, less efficient here. They're spending more money and so on. But in the end, I'm fine with that. That's exactly what I wanted to see. It's not pleasing Wall Street, but they're putting in the money. And I still think they have a chance to be profitable in Q4. I know many have been kind of expecting that they might break even already this quarter. I think there was a chance for it, but actually not expecting that. What else? Let me just pick some more comments here. Right, exactly. Good comment here. Remember, lesser ES8, more ES6, EC6. That's why the weaker margin and the average sales prices are lower. Yeah, it's a good point on the weaker margin, but actually the average sales prices are higher than what I personally was calculating with. So I was expecting that the average vehicle prices are around, I think, let me check back again, but around 55,000, 54,000, and let me check again. I was expecting 54,500 US dollars, but the vehicle revenues came in quite a bit higher, so they actually exceeded that a little bit. And so that's positive news. But yes, you're right, the vehicle margins are a bit lower. And that's surprising to see, to be honest, as well. So that I can only explain that for now. I need to look more into detail with that. This is pretty ad hoc. Sorry, once again, guys, I'm just sitting here in a restaurant. But I could explain that with possibly the chip shortage, supply side issues and stuff like that, which have put more pressure on the vehicle margins there. Yeah, exactly. Origin. That's also what I would use here to explain the lower vehicle margins. Yeah. So Philong, he is quite exciting here, but he was expecting not so great report due to the chip shortage of the previous months. And once again, I have to say this is not a great or surprising report, right? This is not crushing expectations, and these are not great numbers, to be frank about this. And but still, the numbers are in line, a little bit lower than even my conservative estimations, but still. It seems like what I was mentioning in a video earlier today has come through, that you know, investors coming into these earnings have been quite conservative as well. So that's why NIO is possibly not selling off right now. Let me check the after hours again. I mean, that could change any second, right? Tomorrow in the open, but okay, now it's slightly down 0.3%, but that's nothing, right? I mentioned before that growth stocks like Fastly were selling off minus 25% after earnings. And that's certainly not happening. I mentioned in the video as well that I think it's unlikely to happen for NIO, and glad it didn't happen. So all in all, this is good news here. Here, good comment, Snow Monkey, 30K maybe in Q4. Actually, I think that's highly likely. I think this will be higher than 30K, maybe just slightly, but I think it's highly likely. So Q3, we will see a little bump. So good to see the 23 to 25K in guidance there. I think NIO is usually, they're confident about the guidance, and they usually can match their guidance because they know what kind of orders they're getting in, right? It's all made to order. And so I think we can be quite confident about that. And then once again, I mentioned that the Q4 will be awesome. And so I think, yeah, plus 30K might be in the books. And so I'm not not that doubting my 95K guidance for end of the year anymore. Right, here is a comment by Math. I want NIO to have a couple of bad months so the stock could drop and then take this opportunity to buy a lot. Sorry, but I think based on this report and based on how the investors are reacting, I don't see NIO going much more lower again. I mentioned in this video today that maybe there might be a drop, a sharp drop, but that didn't happen after earnings. It should have happened already if investors are super not confident with those numbers, but it seems they are. And so I would say going into Q3 and Q4, we should see a higher stock price. And I'm usually not saying stuff like that, but this is not a great report. It's not a super surprising report, and still we're doing quite well on the stock price after hours. So I would say it's quite unlikely that we will see, let's say, the 30 US dollar range in NIO again. All right, so here's some speculation. So the 3 new products in 2022, they said number 1, ET7, cheapest sub-brand, and question marks speculate here. Right, I would say it's ET7, it's ET5, and then I've done a couple of videos around the project Gemini, which I think will be the product number 3. So I already mentioned that I think on NIO Day, they're gonna announce 2 new products. That's kind of confirmed here with the NIO earnings here. It's quite interesting to see that they're coming out with something like this because it's quite teasing investors here, right? So once again, also kind of it's resonating with investors. It's quite a bullish move by NIO here, to be honest. And I've no idea really what will be the project Gemini exactly. I thought it might have something to do with autonomous driving. I previously rumored that it might be something related to, for instance, the project Intel Mobileye with NIO in Israel, but I'm not so sure about that anymore. So gonna be excited, really exciting what they're gonna announce on NIO Day. So it's a nice teasing here. Could this be the end of the downward trend? Yeah, Peter. Once again, I might be a bit too bullish here, but I think it is. I think we want we want depending on the macro environment. We now had the really. I mean, never had so much fear around Chinese stocks, right? Plus, lots of sell-off in the technology stocks, and so what is the downside? Even after this report, which is not a great surprise in my books, NIO is not selling off. So I would say, yeah, we may go a little bit lower here, maybe 5%, maybe 10%. But overall, I think by the end of Q3, by the end of Q4, stock price of NIO will be higher than it is now. That's just, it's not it's not trading advice. It's just my personal opinion, just how I'm reading this right now. I may sleep over this and I may have a different opinion on that tomorrow, but I think, yes, you might be right. This might be the end of the downtrend for NIO. All right, what else? Give me some exciting questions or comments. As long as my internet holds up here, once again, I'm right now in a restaurant in Italy, and that's because the place where I'm living right now is high up in the mountains, really bad connection. So I went down here to have some food, have some beer, and enjoy NIO Earnings with you guys. NIO Hong Kong IPO. That's a good, well, that's not even a question, but yeah, good point. I think that will be another catalyst, and NIO has postponed it. I think tactically, some say rumors around the board, which they had to rearrange. But I would also say that they know that the share price might be up in Q3 and Q4, and that's how they're going to use it in order to launch the secondary listing in Hong Kong. Get some limoncello. Hi, Pietro. I'm just sticking with some beer. Maybe you know this brand. That's it. It's a lager. I prefer Pilsner, to be honest, but it's all right. Sell NIO, buy Xpeng. Well, you're really in the wrong live stream here, to be honest. I'm really in your bowl, to be honest. And I think, sorry, but just to comment on this, I think actually that NIO has the much higher prospects. All of the respect of what Xiaopeng is doing. They're great on, for instance, the voice recognition. They're trying to focus their capabilities in the area of autonomous driving. But I do think the ET7 of NIO will be a game changer. I think NIO can catch up quite well in order of speech recognition. NIO is already quite a bit of a USP in terms of the in-car experience. And then, I'm also a Tesla bull, and I do think that Xpeng will just have a hard time competing with Tesla in a mass market vehicle segment, because I just think Tesla is the king of scale. They have such better cost efficiencies. And so, yeah, all the respect of what Xiaopeng is doing, but I think Tesla is the right investment, even in China, for the EV revolution in the mass segment. I think Xpeng will be possibly doing fine and getting their fair share, but I think it's limited in what they can do overall. And quite to the contrary, NIO is very differentiated from Tesla. They have huge upside opportunity. They managed as a Chinese brand to become one of the premium players competing with Audi, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and so on. And so this is a huge unique opportunity. Many much higher earnings on vehicles sold than comparison to Xpeng. So really it doesn't matter if Xpeng is going to sell more cars than NIO in the future, because NIO simply is going to earn more on each of the cars sold. And on top of that, NIO is just building this ecosystem around lifestyle, and that just needs this kind of branding, right? And also the e-commerce functionality and the NIO Life and so on. And Xpeng simply doesn't have that, and I think they won't be able to replicate that. So sorry about that. I'm not going to put any money on Xpeng, but that is unique to me. So I'm just long Tesla and NIO there. That's just the way I like to put my investments, and I know that's a strong opinion. Not saying you should follow that, but that's just the way I roll. What else? Here's an interesting comment. NIO should go for a factory in the Netherlands, providing Groningen did a lot of pre-work and license to catch Teslas for Giga, but failed. So easy job and quick start for building a factory. Actually, I agree a lot with what you say here. I think, I mean, you know, Tesla bulls don't like that NIO is not owning their factories, but I really like that because I think it's a super lean model. And I think actually that NIO will actually start and find their partners both in Europe as well as in the US. And you might be right about the Netherlands, and that NIO will find some partners which have open capacities and so on. And they will produce NIO cars so that they don't need to be imported anymore. So right now they're going through into Norway simply because they don't have to pay import taxes on that. So that's a smart move. But in the end, they want to conquer the entire Europe, right? And so I think, yeah, it ultimately makes sense, not only on a manufacturing side, but also because also on the political side. And that's, I think, where NIO is doing really smart moves. They're quite an international company. Once again, also in contrary to Xpeng or Li Auto, NIO has built this years ago on, from scratch off the grounds. And so they will profit from that. And I think they know the game, and they will know how to kind of cherish those relationships also with Europe. And they know that if they use, for instance, European manufacturers or US manufacturers, maybe Magna in US or Canada and so on, this will help them to have a better brand overseas and possibly have a better acceptance simply. So yeah, I think you're really right about this comment here. Yeah, now here's another comment around a new company that they're creating and a cheaper brand. Honestly, that's not too much of my focus. I know that this may be necessary in order to scale even higher, but the core of NIO is really the brand that they've been building, and I think it's quite the achievement that they have created this premium brand and also the high average sales prices, which once again we see confirmed during this earnings again. So that's awesome. And I do think, if you compare it to Mercedes and BMW, which sell between 1 to 3 million cars, and that's exactly my business case for NIO in 2025 to 2030. And that's sufficient. I mean, of course, they can also break into the mass market segment, but it doesn't have to be necessarily at the core of what NIO is doing. And so that's a nice thing on top, which I think they are able to pull out there, but it's nothing that I'm count on my investment thesis here. So even if they wouldn't create this cheaper brand, which is not NIO, I still think that this would be quite an exciting investment. All right, I think that's it for now. I'm glad it's working so far with this live stream here in a restaurant. Let me know if you have got any more exciting comments or questions. Happy to go through them. Until either my AirPods quit their job or until maybe, I mean, they're closing it here right now anyways, but that's good for you guys because it's becoming more silent in the background. So apologies for this, but tomorrow, of course, I will make sure to have a deeper dive after the the earnings call. Gonna listen to it and give you my second thoughts around all of these numbers when I had a more clear mind to think about it. But once again, let me summarize it. I think it's not a breakthrough report. It's not exciting. It's not a surprise. It's not super positive. But what is positive is the reactions of investors. It's not selling off. It seems to be a slight beat on the EPS, which I think is quite not necessary, to be honest. They're pleasing Wall Street. I don't have to. They're doing the right thing and investing more in operations, into R&D. That's where the money should go. They have plenty of cash, so I'm happy to see that. They're doing a little bit more than I actually thought they would. They have surprised me on the revenue side. They have disappointed me on the operational side. But so far, it's all good. I'm just happy that it's not a minus 20%, minus 30% after earnings, as we've seen with Pinterest, as we've seen with Roku, as we've seen with Fastly. Things like that can happen. So we should really be happy with that. And looking into the future, I think the guidance here has been extremely strong, extremely good, higher than I would have thought. And on top of that, it seems like it's putting more confidence in investors, right? And I think, once again, and I'm usually not outgoing, and I'm usually not looking forward and say, look, it's going to be like this and that in the future. But I think it's much likely that in Q3 and Q4, we will see higher share prices than this. All right. Good. I don't see any more specific questions which I haven't answered yet. Possibly gonna jump onto, let's see how pre-market goes tomorrow and also live into market open. Let's see. Gonna digest these kind of earnings. But so far, I would say we should be happy with that as NIO investors. Those of you who were aiming to buy on a dip, I think you possibly will be disappointed. But anyways, for me, that's a good result. Although it's not exciting, once again. For instance, also not in comparison to what Tesla has actually done during this quarter. I had also low expectations on Tesla, but frankly, they really beat my estimations. And so, yeah, good so far. Are you in the Dolomites? No, I'm not. I'm in Tuscany, so central Italy. It's quite hot here, as you can see, but they're closing the restaurant now. So that's it. I'm happy that it worked with the internet. Hope you guys can appreciate it. Smash this thumbs up, and then see you in the next video. And I hope you enjoyed this ad hoc live video. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about it, and then see you in the next one. Peace out.